Well, hi guys. Welcome to our Syria Saturday Weekly Hangout, a virtual panel discussion where we all bring our notes to the table and help you understand what's happening this week in the crisis in Syria. I'm Mohammed Sergi, a senior editor at Syria Deeply, collaborative new media projects of journalists and technologists covering complex issues. This week we have Yasmin, Leila, Tawfiq, and Dania joining us. Tawfiq is a political expert on Syria, and he's based in Dubai. Um, Layla is a blogger and an expert on communication networks. Yasmin is a chair of our campus engagement for Syria Deeply, and she's based in Jordan. And apparently, we just lost Dania, who will be joining us soon, and she works for Jasur. So today, we just wanted to start up with a bit of the political stories that are happening in Syria, and what we have going on is the meetings in Doha, which are still ongoing and trying to bring the political opposition together. We also had President Bashar al-Assad conduct an interview with Russia Today. First, I just wanted to start off with sharing some slides and some images that we had this week, and start with that. Start with our screen share, and these images are from Houla. And what we see here is the devastation that we see from aerial strikes. So this is a bomb that is a Russian-made bomb used for bringing down concrete structures and dams and so on. You see the people running away from the devastation, and there is the bomb right there, a very large piece of munition. You see there that was taken a month ago in the central square in Houla, in one of the towns of Houla. And this is what the square looks like today. So just to get a feel of perhaps the politics behind all of this, I wanted to go to Tawfiq and hear your views on what's going on in Doha and what the new shape of the operation will look like.
Well, there are two views about what's going on in Doha. One view is that this incredibly important and a seminal moment for the uprising in Syria to see if the opposition can coalesce around a united force to confront Bashar al-Assad. The second view out there is that the meetings in Doha are completely irrelevant, do not matter, because the situation depends on and is related to the armed movement on the ground, which in effect is divorced from the political nature of a united or disunited opposition. So those are kind of the two views out there. And there's an increased group of number of analysts, etc., coming out after Obama's election saying that the focus needs to simply be on how to arm different elements of the opposition to allow them to defeat Bashar al-Assad. I still believe that it's important to have a united opposition regardless of what happens, to have some type of unified or some type of body that can be turned to be the primary opposing force to Bashar al-Assad. But I think we're increasingly towards a situation where we had what we had in Somalia. And what I mean by that is that I think even if there is some type of unified, externally based opposition group, it's very hard to see how they will be transported and transplanted into Syria right now. I think we've simply lost time, and I'm extremely pessimistic about where we are. Not to mention that I think the talks in Doha, which are dragging out to see if there can be something larger in terms of a grand bargain between the Syrian National Council, Riyadh Safe, and others, so that's also drawing out. But I think even if that's resolved, we're in an extremely complicated place.
Okay, and in terms of the regional powers and how they view it, and especially the significance of having this in Doha, where you could exert some force. What are the views from them? How do they want to? I'm assuming they don't want to see the crisis of Somalia unfold in Syria. They want to see some sort of stability or resolution of this conflict.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think for Qatar, the United States, and Turkey, the meetings in Doha are important because they've simply lost faith in the Syrian National Council. And I think others have lost faith in the Syrian National Council long before. And so the attempt in Doha is to kind of unify some type of body that they can trust, that they believe they can invest in, that is going to have increased credibility amongst obviously what they refer to as the internal opposition, in addition to the externally based opposition consisting of people who've not been in Syria for 20 to 30 years. Obviously, the selection of George Sabra at the helm of the Syrian National Council is to assuage the kind of fears of an Islamist component on the ground that is obviously increasing, as well as to show that, you know, there are people who are linked to the internal situation. George Sabra was in Damascus, you know, at the start of the uprising. Obviously is one of the authors of the Damascus Declaration, is an old-time activist who's been in and out of prison as he was carrying out opposition activities within Syria. So they're trying to play to that, the SNC is. So that's one kind of element that the powers that be are trying to encourage. The second is, if they're going to be bringing in arms, increased arm flows into the situation, they want to have some type of structured avenue to do that in. They can't really go to Liwa Tawheed, obviously not to Jabhat al-Nusra, and even the kind of hodgepodge patchwork of military councils that have emerged are very difficult to access. So the hope is somehow that there's a unified political body. They set up a mechanism to fund and channel arms, and then this will somehow weigh the balance towards, I think in their view, pro-Western groups within the armed opposition that they can better control.
Okay. So yeah, pessimistic, and I guess we'll see how that plays out. I guess maybe if we can switch gears for a couple of minutes and go towards something that is a bit more optimistic, and we'll talk to Dania Ismail, who is, I believe, the co-founder of, or one of the founders of Jasur, an organization which is designed to help Syrian students, and is also with the longer-term plans of building bridges, which Jasur means. And I would like to hear more about the organization.
Sure. Sorry about my third thing. It's gone all the opposite way. I don't know if everyone sees what I'm seeing.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about Jasur. Jasur is a not-for-profit NGO established around a year ago by a bunch of expatriate Syrians, me being one of them. We're based all over the world. We're a global organization. 2 of us are based in Dubai. 3 of us are based in North America. There's someone in Kuwait, someone in London. We try to expand internationally as much as possible. So we came together with the idea that the Syrian expatriate community has a lot to offer, has a lot to leverage, and has a lot to help in opening up opportunities to Syrians on the ground, be that in education, career development, entrepreneurship, anything that has a long-term impact on the country, and that is non-political. Our main message is that we are non-political and we are non-religious. We started the initiative with a very, very simple project called the University Admission Mentorship Project, where we linked students in Syria looking to apply to universities abroad with mentors like myself or Syrian expatriates who have gone through the process of applying to universities abroad, and that could help these students on a one-on-one basis go through the selection process, application process, understanding what these university applications are, what reference letters are, what transcripts are, and helping them go through the entire admission process until they get into universities. So we started the first project with great success. Obviously, the financial need aspect came on very strong. So we decided to also launch a scholarship fund, which we are now fundraising for. In addition, we have a US conference that is happening next week, the Syria 2025 conference. The idea of the conference is to kind of set a vision for Syria in 2025, again, from a non-political perspective. We have a few panels. We have top speakers, experts in economy, in development, in education, just coming together, speaking, opening up dialogue, engaging the conference attendance, and just putting together some thoughts, some projects, some plans for what a development project focusing on the resources of Syria, mainly the youth, would look like for 2025. Again, we'll try to keep all the conversations very non-political. That tends to be very difficult with what's going on in Syria. Politics always seems to come up, but we always try to stay true to what we are, because what we want to do is eventually help the youth get the education, get the right careers, get the right experience and resources to enable them to come back to the country at some point and help rebuild it after what's going on now. So we believe that youth is the future, and we're opening up resources and opportunities for them to achieve that. There's a lot more that we do. I think I will highlight just one more thing that we focus on at Jusur that's been a great success. We highlight Syrian talent while we are trying to fundraise, lobby, talk to people about Jusur. What we've done in the past is hold a very small art auction based on donations from very prominent contemporary Syrian artists. And we've been able to raise decent amounts of money for our scholarship. We're doing it again during our conference in New York next week. This has proved very successful with the artists themselves, with the international community, with the students, and it's built that kind of positive momentum which Jusur is after around the Syrian community. So that's basically in a nutshell what Jusur is. I can go into more details in certain projects. Another big success story just to highlight is the IIT scholarship. We partnered up with the Illinois Institute of Technology that offered 50 scholarships to Syrian students. We helped them in the selection and announcing. Yeah, we have a picture of the first 14 students that arrived on campus in October. It's a huge success story. These students went from emailing us, sending us messages on Facebook a few months ago to actually being on campus and fulfilling their dream of enrolling in a university that offers the right majors, that's credible education, etc. So I don't know if you were able to show the picture. Yeah. So these are first 14 students out of 50 scholarships. 28 have actually already been awarded, but 14 of them managed to get out of Syria, get the visas, and actually make it to Chicago. We're working on the rest of them. We're also help fundraise for the rest of the scholarship because it was a partial scholarship. And we're doing our best to support and create other partnerships with universities in the States and internationally in Europe, even in Asia. Even international universities with campuses in the Middle East. We're trying to build these partnerships in order to open up even more opportunities for education.
All right,
Dania. That's our current focus, and there's more.
No, it's definitely an impressive project. Just one thing, because politics does play a role in all of these things. One of the criticisms that you hear on social media and so on of Jusur is that it's not clear of what they are. But I've spoken to many of the members, and I think they've agreed at least on one central message, is that the vision of 2025 has a political aspect in terms of, the vision is not, in 2025 Syria will remain
at war.
Remain at war.
Yeah.
It will, the vision is democracy, rule of law, development, that sort of stuff, right?
Look, definitely it has to do with freedom, open dialogue, freedom of speech. I mean, all of these things are things that we aspire to as Syrians. But this won't be Jusur would not be the platform for us to advertise for that. If we can be the facilitators, if we can provide the right platform for the youth to build the right resources and skills to become active members of a free, open, healthy civil society. This is what we aim for.
Okay.
We won't openly say we advocate this or that just because we want to remain true to who we are.
But you don't advocate dictatorship or the other one.
No, definitely not. Of course.
Right. Yeah. That's that's all. That's just the important aspect of it. Just to
for sure. Of course. Yeah. Of course. That's not even. I mean.
So let's switch to Layla, who has been focusing on the communications and sort of the way that the Syrian regime and other, I guess, police states are able to look into the communications, emails, whatever, of Skype even conversations of people and the dangers to them. So I'd like to hear a bit about that.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Actually, I'm happy I'm speaking after, I can't see the name from here. What's the name of our Syrian friend who talked right before me?
Mohammed.
Dania.
Okay.
Dania, okay. So I wanted to share this link. I don't know if you guys saw this, especially you, Dania. So there's this, I don't know if you've heard of Erasmus Mundus program.
Yes, we have. Yes,
well, it's opening now for they have an extension and for I don't know, kind of big number of scholarships all over European universities for Syrian students. So they're having these emergency scholarships for Syrians who are in risky situations inside the country or expatriate as well. So they're funding their studying abroad. So that's pretty good if you want to check it out. And this is something I'm going to mention because I have this, I don't know if you've heard of Bertelsmann Foundation.
No, so please explain it.
Yeah, well, it's
yeah,
so it's it's actually basically a foundation that focuses a lot on bridges between north and south of the Mediterranean. So they're inviting a group of people from different countries from the south of the Mediterranean, like Libya, Tunisia, Egyptian, and I'm going to talk about Syria. So we're all going to meet with European parliamentarians and NGOs and journalists to present. You know, sometimes it's frustrating to be presenting things when it's not that there's not ideas on the table and initiatives. I mean, we've presenting a lot of things for a year and a half now. It doesn't seem like people are listening and they're just looking at things getting worse. But here we go again, trying to bring some things to the table. So I'm going to mention these positive aspects of programs like Erasmus Mundus, which we've been pushing for a while now. And also there's this new regulation from this parliamentarian, Dutch parliamentarian Margie Schaake. So she's been very open, speaking loud and clear about the relationship between surveillance technology, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept, dual-use technology, which is technology that can be used for both civilian purposes and for, we could say, war situations. So this is applied to weapons and it's also applied to surveillance technology. Basically, regimes such as Assad and Mubarak and Gaddafi have been relying on Western technology, Western infrastructure to spy on citizens online. So there's this recent leaks on WikiLeaks that show how even long after the uprisings in Syria, these Italian companies and other companies from Europe have been providing the Assad administration with training on how to spy on citizens, with tools. So there's this new regulation now to restrict these exports of this kind of technology, considering it as selling weapons to countries in conflict situations. So I think this new regulation improves the previous one, but we're going to be really tuned on how this is implemented. We're going to make sure the European Commission does not forget about updating the list on products and countries that cannot be dealt with from the European Union. Okay. So this is, yeah.
But in terms of how these products are used,
yeah.
We hear that.
Well, yeah, there's this company called Area from Italy. So it's been providing, I mean, they define like themselves the way they described the contract they have with Assad, according to these WikiLeaks cables. So it's allowing the civil servants for the Assad government to dip into virtually every corner of the internet, also mobile and phone and land lines, and vehicles. So actually being able to track cars and their location. So it's very sophisticated infrastructure Assad could not have on his own. So they've been relying on Western technology for years. But now it's the right moment to raise awareness about this issue. I don't think we'll have a better moment to show how scary, how dangerous it is to be dealing with these regimes. And I mean, we're trying to campaign for this, to try to set an example out of the relationship between death and torture and censorship and lack of freedom of expression and this kind of technology that Europeans are providing.
Yes, yes, and it's a sort of technology that has been used to quell the opposition in Iran a couple of years ago.
Yes, and Mubarak and Gaddafi and Bahrain, all over the Middle East and North Africa, 80% of the technology is Western.
Okay. Thanks, Leila. We're going to switch over to Yasmin Ansari, and she's based in Jordan. and we'd really like to hear about your experiences there with the Zaatari camp, and really what drove you as a student at Stanford to go halfway across the world to help these people.
Okay, great. So my name is Yasmin. I go to Stanford University, but this semester I have been living in Amman, studying abroad at the University of Jordan. And I got involved a few months ago by, I have a good friend of mine who was involved with going to the camps, going to Zaatari. He's an independent journalist. And so we got involved with this project together in which we would go to the camp, visit with families, talk to them, interview them, and basically just hear their stories about what's been going on in the camp, how they left Syria, what if they still have family in Syria. And we've frankly heard some really, really crazy stories. Even within the camp itself, there's so much devastation. I mean, the conditions are truly terrible. Something really big that's been going on, which is something we've wanted to focus on more so, is the fact that now that it's winter time, between November and February in Jordan, the average temperature at night is around 2 degrees Celsius. So essentially it's freezing. There's about almost 40,000 refugees now. They're all living in tents. So if you can imagine, literally tents, dirt on the ground, some families of up to 10 people living in each tent, no blankets, they're freezing, they don't have enough clothes, they don't have enough food. It's really, really, really terrible. And when you ask them, you know, what do you need exactly, most of them will go straight to telling you they need blankets, they need warm clothes, they need more permanent housing, you know, because they have nothing to go back to. A lot of them have absolutely nothing to go back to. Some of their homes are burned down. And so, you know, it looks like they're stuck here for who knows how long. So it's been a really, really overwhelming experience, but definitely really good to get to know some of the families. There's a few that we've been talking to consistently every week for several months now, so we've gotten to know them pretty well, and hopefully in the process of developing some kind of campaign so that we can help address their fundamental needs there.
In terms of some of the basic reasons, like water and you know, showers and bathrooms, this sort of stuff, what does it look like in the camps? We've been hearing there's a large constraints on water in Jordan in general, so I can imagine.
Right. So essentially, when you go there, imagine just like acres of land, lots of tents. Then there's one area in which there's like a big concrete wall, and then inside of that would be the bathrooms, which essentially means it's like holes in the ground. Extremely dirty. There's been a lot of, one family specifically told us a story, two women, it was a mother and a daughter, told us a story about how they only had the clothes on their backs when they came to the camp. They had no other clothes. And so the woman essentially, like when they wanted to go to the bathroom or take a bath, which also is like, there's some buckets and you can kind of wash yourself. I mean, basically you don't shower, you don't clean yourself. But they would have to take off their clothes and like try to hide, but I mean, essentially they were exposed, and that has so many problems on its own. So yeah, so there's baths like that, there's the toilets, and then there's really not, I mean, hygiene is absolutely, it's non-existent.
So a very, very difficult humanitarian situation.
Very difficult, yes.
I'm going to switch over to Tawfiq again, and perhaps now we can talk a bit about you know, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. We saw Assad's interview. I don't know if you saw it, but with Russia Today, he said he's going to live and die in Syria. Seems pretty entrenched. And then the opposition, or at least the armed opposition on the ground, believes that they could win and are fighting to the death. So what will change with all of the diplomacy that we're seeing in you know, world capitals?
Well, I mean, I think the Assad interview, which I think obviously Russia Today has its own bias, and their interviewer was, in my view, extremely unprofessional and sycophantic in half of her questions, even though there was some challenging questions towards the end where she asked him if he would do anything differently. Didn't bring out too much new. I mean, I met Assad with a group from Harvard a few years ago. It's the same guy. He's an extremely stubborn person. He's extremely fierce in his determination to follow his own path, and the fact that he's not changing at this point in time and is kind of throwing down lines in the sand, very much similar to the rhetoric he's used in the last couple of years, is not new. The thing is, however, and the fact that this interview is on Russia Today, is that countries like Russia are still staunchly with him. And the disarray that the opposition finds itself in means that it's losing part of the global media campaign, as there's an increasing jihadization of some of the armed movements. Now, this is attributed to the fact that the West has not come in to fund or arm the opposition, allowing groups that are linked to Al-Qaeda or other militant groups take hold. However, the truth is, and we saw a New York Times article about this the last couple of days, there is less and less sympathy with some parts of the Free Syrian Army in many parts of Syria, simply because people don't know what that means anymore, Free Syrian Army, and there's so many disparate groups around there. So what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, is that there's going to be a concerted effort to try and coalesce some type of political, and then after that, some type of armed force that would oppose Assad. But I actually think, like I said before, that you don't have a convergence yet of interest between those that are supporting the regime and those that are opposing, and so we're probably likely going to see a continued dissonance in the next few months.
One thing, and perhaps this might be considered an unprofessional question, but I'm still going to ask it, given that you met Assad before. Some analysts who look at this, they see a change, at least in, and I have a slight one, but that his lisp is more pronounced, and he seems to be a bit more, at least in body language, a bit more I don't know, hesitant or fraught with fear of some sort. Did you notice that in the interview, or did you?
No, I actually think that I mean he's always had this type of, he does this thing. He sits there. He's a little bit lack of confidence sometimes when he speaks English. He normally has somebody actually in the room that would be there if he needs to use correct English with him. And I would actually see him more composed than when he was during the interview with, was it?
Barbara Walter.
I don't want to mess Barbara Walter, right? So I actually think he had learned from that interview and was much more specific and on message, but he was very similar in kind of his situation. Look, yeah. I mean, the truth is, it could be that they could fire some shells at the presidential palace and he could die tomorrow, or it could be that this continues for another another six months or so, and then we'll reassess where these things go. But I do think that we're not in like some type of 2009 Green Revolution. We're not in some type of Tunisia revolution. We're not in some type of March 15th of last year to maybe August of last year Syrian revolution. We're in a complicated conflict right now, and whosever fault it is, if it's the West's fault, if it's Bashar al-Assad's fault, which obviously is for a number of the deaths, but where we are now is you have a series of different forces that are at play from within the regime, some that are sectarian, some that are conflict, and getting those all back into kind of some type of peace and stability is an enormous challenge. And even the fall of Bashar al-Assad does not guarantee anything. And so, to be honest, Daniaz and Jasur and Fadi and Rani and all those people working on Jasur, they're incredibly important in this discussion, because, to be honest, how Bashar al-Assad falls is an extremely political question now. It's going to take some effort, but the aftermath it doesn't matter anymore. When Bashar al-Assad falls, it's going to be extremely difficult and complicated. It's not like there's going to be democracy springing up the day after, and I think we have to have really a mature, difficult discussion. It's hard because this movement started as a pro-democracy movement, but things have changed on the ground that make it extremely complicated now, and it's not just about wanting democracy and opposing democracy.
So yeah, we'll switch to Daniel. Maybe you can follow up a bit on that. And then one thing I had was also what Yasmin was mentioning about the dire situation in the Zaatari refugee camp, but also with a lot of refugees in Syria. What are the plans, the future plans for Jasur to funnel some aid, or at least give some recognition to these people as well, because students are missing school, and you heard about the humanitarian suffering.
Actually, when it comes to the refugee situation, there's not much that we can do. Our strength and what JSU really builds on is the Syrian expatriate community. And a lot of them are just around the world offering their expertise, their knowledge, their contacts. We're less about being on the ground. We're not the type of organization that has the right resources to be able to go into Syria to offer aid. We're not the United Nations. We are not in that position. So we're actually taking up a completely different position where we're just focusing on things that are practical, doable, and have long-term impact. Definitely there is a need on the ground right now, for sure, but we are not the right organization to take that on. We've only been set up for 12 months. And so far we've got around 4,000 people who are following us, who follow our work, who are big supporters of JSU. We have 700 people who have registered as members. What we try to do is try to engage the expatriate community in what they can offer outside of Syria, rather than go on the ground and help with immediate kind of medical or humanitarian relief. We're not the right people to do that. We're not equipped, unfortunately.
No, I understand.
So we try to focus our efforts on things that are more pragmatic and things that can be done and things that no one else is doing. So no one else is actually looking after these students that are now out of university. A lot of the people that we were talking to, a lot of the candidates that are applying to our scholarship or to the IIT scholarship or to the mentorship program are students that have suddenly been cut off of education. They cannot go to university anymore. They've had to flee, or they fear for their lives going and coming from school. As you know, in Damascus, the universities there's a trek to get to university and back. It's just become a dangerous situation for them to continue their education. So this is where we come in and we play, at least for now. There are other projects where we're actually helping a lot of the Syrians that are fleeing Syria, the brain drain that's happening right now. You walk around Dubai and you see all of these young Syrians that are very smart, qualified, university graduates just looking for a job, and any job would do. So we come in and also play a role here where we try to, for instance, give them career advice. The 101s, basics of writing up your CV, presenting yourself in an interview. We're also launching a mentorship project around careers. So linking up a Syrian looking for a job with a Syrian in a certain industry who specializes, connected, who's in a high position, that could help advise him and guide him in the right direction. So we play on these areas rather than the on-the-ground relief. I mean, and this is as much as we can do.
No, I understand that. I understand. So we're reaching the end of the program, and I just wanted to.
Can I just share something real quick?
All right, go ahead.
I don't know. I can send you the link in a little bit, but there's this hospital and this refugee camp near the border with Turkey, near Kilkis or Kikis. Kilis. So there's the Syrian Union Abroad, or Union of Syrians Abroad, that they just organizing this orthopedic hospital for especially for amputations. So they're looking for funding, and we started a crowdfunding campaign with a Spanish platform called gotio.org. So we just created this video to start have the campaign up and running. So if I can send you the link, I mean, we're trying to raise 20,000 euros for this orthopedic surgery hospital.
For sure, we'll put it up near our page, and that's okay. A very nice effort. So one thing we're going to try to do is pull some things from social media every once in a while, and just show what some Syrians are looking at. And this one here is an image of the best dressed rebel in Aleppo in his little suit and AK. So I thought people would like to see that and just see what it's like to fight with style, I guess. Well, I'd really like to thank Dania Ismail from JSU and Laydan Shawati. Tawfiq Rahim, thank you so much. It was an excellent insight, and Yasmin Ansari, keep it up, and we're working very hard. My name, once again, Mohammed Sergi, and thank you for joining us at our Saturday Hangout. Take care.